Welcome back to another episode of Instigating with Clarkey and Drury. I am Drury. I am with Clarkey. We are brought to you, as always, by our friends at CoolBet and in part by the Listowel Squash Courts and our friends at See the Game in the Listowel Vision Center. Clarkey, it's great to be back with our friends from Whiteman TV. Producer Adam back in the producer chair. We are fired up to be back on local cable with you.
And what a perfect time for him to come back right after the Leafs trounced the Colorado Avalanche a couple days ago. Perfect timing. Perfect timing.
Absolutely.
I asked him after the game if he wanted a pie.
That's fantastic. A little inside joke there. All right. There's a lot to talk about, specifically with the Leafs. We are going to dig into a lot. The Jason Spezza suspension, which has caused a lot of uproar, of course. There's a little bit of, I'm going to sneak this in, Clarkey, Mitch Marner news as well. We're going to sneak some of that in. We got to talk about Vancouver and the big changes there. And of course, we'll discuss the Canadian Athlete of the Year award handed out to Damian Warner. But first, we have got to talk about my favorite sports franchise of all time. The Arizona Coyotes are back on their BS, as the kids say. I cannot believe the incessant nonsense that this franchise continues to put us through. If you're unfamiliar with what we're talking about, there was an article written in The Athletic in February about the toxic work nature of the environment there for Coyotes employees. Of course, there was the story last year in the bubble where they couldn't pay their players bonuses on time and a number of staff salaries. Now, a story breaks, and Craig Morgan, who covers the team, and of course, Katie J. Strang doing great work at the Athletic, broke this story that basically they owe so much money in back taxes to the state and the city of Glendale, where they play in Gila River Arena, which they rent from a group called ASM. They owe so much back taxes that the city basically said, after repeated notices, if you don't have this paid by December 20th, we're locking you out.
Ryan, I read this was human error. The Arizona Coyotes have said this was some sort of human error and everything will be fine and they'll make sure everything is paid. Who's going to pay it?
So some developments have occurred since this story broke literally 24 hours ago. When I read this, I was sitting in the press box at the Sleeman Center calling a Guelph Storm game, and I got nudged in the shoulder by a friend of ours, and I looked down and I'm like, oh my God, of course the Arizona Coyotes are back in the news. So some developments. They have allegedly paid off the 1.3 or 4 million in back lien taxes that they owed dating back to June of last year. However, what it was basically the city of Glendale notified ASM that runs the arena to say, if they didn't pay this back by December 20th, we're locking employees out of the arena. We do not know if that meant that games would be canceled because
players are employees.
Well, you would assume, right? And their next home game would be December 23rd against the Lightning. So apparently they've settled up this $1.4-ish million in debt. However, they still owe a bunch of money in rent charges to the arena group. So this isn't out of the woods yet. And of course, the Board of Governors meetings are going on, and I'm sure this is a hot topic. Let me just... I can't say enough about how much I despise this franchise and despise the NHL for allowing this garbage to continue. It is embarrassing. This makes this league look league. They're on a new deal. They just got back on ESPN. They're trying to grow the game and expand viewership of the game. And I do feel bad for the fans there. There are some fans there that are passionate about Coyotes hockey. There's not enough, though, and that's the franchise's fault, and it's the NHL's fault. It's not working. You cannot get reliable investment in the team. For God's sake, the league had to own the team for almost 2 years before this pizza guy, and there's nothing wrong with pizza guys. Hey, I'm a big pizza guy. The Ilitch family, Little Caesars, they own the Red Wings. They're a great franchise. Nothing wrong with pizza guys, but it's better when you have pizza guys with some money who don't miss tax payments. And the human error thing is one of the most laughable things I've ever heard in my life, Clarkey. I'd love your take on this, because Kevin Phelps, who is becoming a central character in this story, he's the city manager of Glendale. Basically said, in all my experience, I've never known somebody to not know and have a human error occur in something like this when you get multiple notices when you're on a tax lien notice. Multiple notices. How many human errors occurred? Were you throwing the city's emails in spam? Like, somebody has to answer for this, Clarkey.
Yeah, someone has to answer for it. And of course, it's as soon as I saw the news, I thought of you because of our conversations in the past about the Arizona Coyotes. It's just one thing after another, isn't it? It's just one thing after another. Let's get this franchise out of Arizona and put it where it belongs. Another team in Toronto.
Yeah, okay. So I'm not going to have this argument.
I just watched the TSN intermission and they asked the panel where it should be. Okay. And one guy said Quebec City. The other guy said Houston. And the most intelligent guy, the O-Dog, said Toronto. So there you go.
Right. Well, again,
it should be any of those three will be better. Any of those three are better than where it is now. Hands down.
And I'm not a big proponent of the second Toronto team.
I know
but I agree it's way better. It's a billion times better.
Yep.
And I'll say this too. I would prefer, of course, Quebec City. They have a rink ready.
Yeah, well, Houston does too.
Rink.
But another southern city that I don't know, like.
So I think the most likely thing is that Houston will be the target. The owner of the Houston Rockets has repeatedly said that he would like to get into the NHL. Houston is I believe, the only top 10 TV market in the United States that the NHL does not have a team in.
I think you're correct.
So that's extremely attractive to somebody like Gary Bettman and somebody who just made a big deal with ESPN. And I think that that's probably what will happen. To my knowledge, though, that rink in Houston, they would have to retrofit it to have ice. So obviously, this guy's a billionaire. That would fall on him.
And of course, Bettman wouldn't want to put it where it's probably, in my opinion, anyway, a slam dunk to be successful in either Quebec or Toronto. I think it's a slam dunk.
No, of course not. No, he's going to go with the American dollars and the American billionaire in the bigger TV market. That's of course what he's going to do.
Right.
And it's. As much as I don't like Gary for a myriad of reasons, which have been exacerbated this year by a number of things, including the gong show that is the Chicago Blackhawks, it's unfair in a sense to blame him for this because at the end of the day, he works for the owners, the now 32 owners, including the moron in Arizona. And they are the ones that kind of have final say on this stuff, right? So like the Pittsburgh Penguins just got sold to Fenway Sports Group. That still has yet to be approved by the board. They will approve it, of course, but the board of governors are the ones that control that stuff. It's not Gary. He does not have final say on Quebec City, Toronto, whatever. It's the owners going, the most money's over here.
Yeah.
And I think Houston will likely be it. But this is embarrassing. It makes this league, again, I've said numerous times, I love the sport. I hate the NHL. The way they run their business sometimes is infuriating. It is the best product hockey-wise on earth. But this makes them look so Bush League. And time and time again.
How
many times?
Right. How many times before they
finally many bullets are in this gun?
And you know what? I would love to see this team get locked out of the arena. I think that would be the best thing ever.
I would too.
Team, like if they showed up to play a game and they're like, nope, sorry, you can't come in. Your rent's done. We've broken your lease. It's over. That would be the best thing ever, right? That would be the best thing ever. And again, like you wouldn't want to go where the TV market in your league gave you $1 billion. Like maybe you can help out that market a little bit. They gave you $1 billion. I don't think ESPN did, but anyway,
I'm not sure off the top of my head what the ESPN deal was worth.
It wasn't worth that much.
Here, I don't think it was worth $1 billion. Remember that was I don't know.
Anyway,
but it's worth mentioning for sure. And again, at the end of the day, I'm just fed up with this. I'm fed up with the defense of a product that does not work, that bleeds red ink. And how can the other 31 owners sit there now and think about like the Seattle and Vegas, the new owners that splashed a ton of cash on expansion teams, and they're sitting there now going, wait, hold on. At the end of the year, we have to take revenue we made, put it in a pot, and prop up this team?
Right. Yeah,
What
you do.
For?
Right, exactly. That's why the Board of Governors should come to their senses and do something about this. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't see many teams saying, no, let's hold on to this. Let's make it work. Let's prop them up. Who would, like, as you mentioned, it's not Gary's decision, but what Board of Governor would want that to happen?
As a businessman, how can you sit there and look at this and go, yeah, let's keep this.
Yeah, exactly.
This is good.
Exactly. But you know, the little man is stubborn, and he will try to convince the Board of Governors.
The little man. I like that.
Well, he is. He's tiny. He's a short little commissioner.
I like that a lot. Yeah, he's the short commish.
He is. He's short. I've met him. He's short.
Let's move on to we don't
let's talk something about let's talk a little bit more about the Mr. Bettman. He now will hear an appeal by the Maple Leafs on the Jason Spezza 6-game suspension. Ryan, when I first saw it, I thought, he's going to get suspended. I thought 2 or 3 games, maybe 4 on the outside. 6. Now, George Peros did get knocked out by a Maple Leaf once, and I think that's gone to his head, and he just has it in for the Leafs. I'm convinced he does. The Jason Spezza, never been suspended. He went to hit the guy. The guy fell over, basically, and I know you're probably going to say Clarkey. His knee hit his shoulder, didn't hit his head. It hit his shoulder.
That's not true at all, Clarkey.
It is true. I'll show you you come over after the show.
They've got the still frames of literally his knee in the guy's teeth. Not true. He hit him right in the head.
No, he didn't.
He did hit him in the head, Clarkey. So, no. I mean, I don't know why we're going to have this argument, because he absolutely deserved the suspension. What bothers me about it, though, is that if you're going to tell me that this is worth 6 games, I personally thought he'd get 3 or 4. I mean, the first news I saw about it was that he was offered an in-person hearing. So I said, well, he's getting 5 bare minimum then, because they generally don't offer you that they have the ability to give you 5. It's not written in stone, but I thought, okay, maybe he'll get 5. 6, is it a bit rich? I guess it is, but I only say that based on what we see out of this Department of Player Safety all the time. If you're telling me that this is 6, I'll agree. I'll say, okay, yeah, I do think it was worth 6 games. I like Jason Spezza a lot. I think he's a great player. He has no supplemental discipline history, and they whacked him hard here. They really, really did. And I don't necessarily disagree with it, but when I stack it up against what I see from other suspensions, it makes no sense to me. And I'll tell you this, and every single time this happens, and it happened the last 2 games where the Rangers played, where Jacob Trouba knocked out Jujhar Khaira the other night, no suspension there. He hit him right in the head. And
he hit last night, same thing.
He hit McKinnon. And I actually thought that hit was a lot cleaner than the Khaira one, where he absolutely just caught him face first in the chin, but he shakes McKinnon up, right? So you see stuff like that. Now, I just want to say, on Jason Spezza's behalf, I think he's a good guy. He's a good player. He's great value for the Leafs. That shouldn't necessarily matter in terms of whatever act occurs. And
no.
If you're telling me that this is 6 games, fine, it's 6 games. But when you stack it up against the other suspensions we see, it just doesn't make any sense. Now, listen.
Sure. He should have probably bit him and slew-footed him, and he would have got
That's what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
The Brendan Lemieux thing where he bites Brady Tkachuk twice, allegedly. You could clearly see he drew blood. Yeah. I thought he should have got 15 games for that.
Sure he should have.
I thought that was one of the most embarrassing, salacious, disgusting things I've ever seen in my entire life. Like father, like son. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but Claude Lemieux is a puke of a player. He's a disgusting player. He almost
like father, like son.
You'll remember, and I'm sure producer Adam, who's a big Avalanche fan, is getting hot in the collar right now. You'll remember Claude Lemieux almost killed Chris Draper in the 97 season. I believe it was the 97 playoffs, and it was unbelievable. Was it 96 actually? Because Colorado won the cup that year. I think they put the Red Wings out, and Darren McCarty, I think, had the famous line, "I can't believe I shook that guy's friggin' hand." An embarrassing player, an effective player, but an embarrassing player. His son is even worse. This guy is a criminal element. I mean, back to his junior days when Brendan Lemieux was on the Barrie Colts. They were like a first place club. They traded him because he was such a disaster in terms of supplemental discipline, and he's the exact same now. I thought that should have been 15 games. That was a sickening, beyond brutal, outside the sport, nothing to do with contact, checking a player, trying to get the puck, whatever. It was disgusting. That should have been 15 games. And I'll say this to you. I agree with you that it looks inherently like there's bias within this Department of Player Safety department.
Yes, there absolutely does.
Marchand, but I'll say this to you too, Clarkey. There's bias on your side of this argument too, because you're going, oh, Jason Spezza didn't hit him in the head. If Tom Wilson did that, you go, Tom Wilson should be suspended for the rest of his life and shot at center ice. So I don't want to hear about this. Oh, he didn't hit him in the head. He absolutely did. It was a disgusting thing that Jason Spezza did. I'm shocked he did it. I can't believe he did it. Now,
dude, he was going to hit him and he fell over.
No.
Yes, he did.
No.
The guy fell over. If you look at that,
get him in the head.
Excuse me. If you look at that in real time, he was going to hit him and he fell down. What is he supposed to do?
He didn't fall. He lunged and swiped the puck out of the zone.
His head was still at his knee height.
Yeah,
he was down low. It wasn't going to happen first of all, it shouldn't have happened because the guy should have got a penalty in the first place. And these referees have to get their head out of their ass and watch the game. And if they can't do it on the ice, then get a guy in the press box who can do it, because that guy Pionk should have been bonked out of the game because he need Rasmus Sandin, who's now out for 3 or 4 weeks or wherever it is. It's ridiculous. The refereeing in this game is just awful.
Zero argument for me. So let's move on from our clear disagreement of what happened, because we clearly don't see eye to eye.
Yeah.
And I do love that every single time with that hit and the 2 Trouba hits, Tom Wilson starts trending on Twitter immediately.
But yeah, Trouba hit the guy twice in the head. Trouba. I was watching that game last night, and I was watching the MSG feed, and they were just raving about how great of a hit it was, and McKinnon has to have his head up, and I'm like, he hit him in the head, and not even a word, not a penalty, nothing from the league on that.
So there's something
he shouldered him in the head.
I thought it wasn't near as bad as the Kyra hit where he knocked that poor kid out. Again, I will say that as long as there is going to be body contact allowed in this league, I will say that there is part of me that still says guys have got to protect themselves a little bit out there.
There's no question about it, but that doesn't.
That doesn't excuse these things. I'm not saying that. It's a hard argument to have because we're talking about big, strong athletes moving very quickly on a sheet of slippery ice that are allowed to hit each other. So it's a very difficult argument that we're having here. However, when you equal out what happened with Spezza, and then you look back and you go, okay, so 6 games, fine, 6 games. Mm-hmm. But then you look and you see what Brad Marchand did just a couple weeks ago to Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Now, Ekman-Larsson didn't get hurt, but he slew-footed him, and I think that is one of the greasiest plays in pro sports. Brad Marchand has been suspended 7 times. 7 times. Yeah. That's more than Tom Wilson. Now, he's older than Tom Wilson. That's more than Tom Wilson. I bet it would interest you to know that Brad Marchand has never been suspended for more than 5 games.
Of course not.
And when
Jeremy Jacobs is their owner.
And you start digging into the conspiracy theory, Jeremy Jacobs, he's right in Batman's ear. And it certainly looks like it.
Yeah. And I'm not joking when I said George Peros was knocked out by the Leafs. Like, he had a lot of battles against the Maple Leafs. A guy cannot like a team. Plus, the Leafs president used to do that job. And like Brendan Shanahan used to do what George Peros does now. And I don't know. It just looks fishy to me. I mean, we're hearing that Bettman, like the NHLPA on behalf of Jason has appealed.
They are appealing it. I bet it gets reduced.
You think it will? Well, when's it going to be heard? When's it going to be heard?
I believe it's going to be heard on Saturday, I think. I read. So now here's why I think so. Yeah. Let's move on to another thing.
Is there any precedence to that too, by the way?
Of getting it reduced?
Yeah.
Let's talk about my friend Tom Wilson.
Okay.
You'll remember when Tom Wilson, not last suspended, because remember, Tom Wilson, who is the poster child of the Department of Player Safety, for better and for worse. last year, he got suspended for such an egregiously dumb play that I couldn't believe it. And I felt that the only reason he got suspended was because he's Tom Wilson. I don't know if you remember last year, he was suspended. Believe he got 3 or 4 games. So let's even look at this in relation to Spezza. This makes no sense. Wilson, here's why I think first Spezza will get it reduced. Wilson took the head off a guy and got suspended 20 games. You'll remember this.
It's happened so many times. I don't remember the incident, but
it's happened 4 times.
Yeah.
It's happened 4 times.
That's a lot. Okay. Go on.
It's a lot.
Go on. Yep.
Now, he got suspended 20 games, appealed it, got it reduced to 16, but he had already served 18. So he came back.
What a joke.
Yeah. It was very contentious. This is Tom Wilson we're talking about.
But what a joke.
He deserves that. Now, he appealed it, got it reduced to 16. So what happened was, because he served 18, he got retroactive back pay because, of course, you lose salary for every game you miss. Yeah. Now, he came back, had a very good season. He's having an unbelievable season this year. We'll talk about him later. Now, last year, he gets suspended again, and it was such a brutal suspension because he hit Brandon Carlo, who was engaged with the puck in the corner with Jake Verana, braced against the boards. Wilson came in, hit him on the shoulder of the number on his shoulder, and he hit him, and Carlo hit his head against the glass, got hurt, and Tom Wilson got suspended for it, which basically sets the precedent of every time I hit a guy against the glass and his head jars because he's not ready for the hit, and he should be because the puck is there. Now you have to suspend everybody. Well, no, because it's just Tom Wilson. But Tom Wilson just got suspended 20 games. Now he only gets 3 or 4. Repeat offender. How does that make any sense? Now, by technicality of their goofy repeat offender rule, I believe he was just outside of the whatever it is. I don't even know what the repeat offender rule is anymore. Is it like a year and a half?
It's whatever George Ferros wants it to be at the time.
Stupid.
It's such ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, you look at that, though, and you go, okay, so a repeat offender in Wilson got suspended after a 20-gamer, reduced to 16, serves like 3 or 4 for that hit, which was I'm as upset with Tom Wilson as anybody when he gets suspended because I need the guy on the ice for my Caps. That suspension was an absolute joke. Now, having said that, though, when you look at all these rules that they say they have, this repeat offender rule, the player in question, the act, you're like, okay, well, how does Jason Spezza go to 6? So all of that doesn't make sense to me. Now, let's talk about your point where you brought up the referees. I am, color me confused, NHL. I have no idea what's happening here. Neil Pionk should have been assessed a 5-minute major and a game misconduct penalty for kneeing Rasmus Sandin, who's hurt.
4 guys on the ice. Now one of them had to see it.
I know. And linesmen are allowed to confer on major penalties.
Absolutely.
And they could have called a major in the very least. Let's just say he even gets a penalty. They could have called a major. They have the power to review it and say, okay, so it wasn't that bad. Maybe we give him 2. But in the very least, if he gets a penalty, probably none of this happens. Now, Pionk gets suspended 2 games for that knee, and it was gross. He absolutely knew what he was doing, just like Jason Spezza did. And I don't know why he only got 2 games. He should have got 4. If Spezza is getting 6, he should have got 4. Now, what this really comes down to, and again, the penalties not being called doesn't excuse what Spezza ended up doing, but there's absolutely precedent in you saying, and I'm sure Leafs Nation and hockey fans in general saying, if the refs do their job, no way this happens. And what it really started with was Dubois mugging Austin Matthews.
Yeah, I know. It was ridiculous.
And I don't think Dubois should have got suspended for that.
No, I don't either. But Matthews should not have got a penalty for being ragdolled.
Get a penalty.
It was crazy, Ryan.
I couldn't believe Matthews got a penalty for that.
Yeah.
Dubois should have got a double minor for roughing and whatever else. Unsportsmanlike conduct, call it whatever you want. That was an embarrassing joke. And I want to say on a quick side note to everybody out there, I know we love him, our buddy Kipper. We'll get him on the show at some point. He had some strong takes about Austin Matthews has got to turn around and clock the guy. He's got to get in a fight and stand up for himself. No, he doesn't. This guy just had wrist surgery. He's had major wrist problems that have cost him a lot of games and probably a lot of goals.
And the Oilers complain about McDavid not getting drawn. He hasn't had 1 penalty drawn against him all year. Austin Matthews.
I think the stat was he's drawn one penalty at 5-on-5.
Okay.
Which is
they were saying that the next
shocking.
morning it was none, but yeah,
Well,
one or none. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. There should be more.
One or none. Yeah.
That's on fire now too. So
immaterial. Yeah, he is. He got 17 goals. Good for him. It's bizarre to me that referees continue to just get away with this stuff. And there's been pressure for years, make referees available to the media. If you don't want to do that, fine, but at least be accountable. This is such an embarrassing joke to have this happen. And let's even dig further into the hypocrisy and idiocy and inconsistency of this league. So Neil Pionk knees Rasmus Sandin, no penalty, 2-game suspension.
Yeah.
A night later, the Jets are playing the Detroit Red Wings. And I can't remember who it was. Ian Cole. Ian Cole does the same thing. Knee on knees. Mark Scheifele gets a 5-minute penalty in game suspension.
Yeah,
gets a $5,000 fine.
That's crazy. It's crazy. And of course,
what are we doing?
The best part about it too is, to me, Pionk is now in concussion protocol, and that just happened to be announced an hour into the hearing for Jason Spezza. Like, give me a break, Winnipeg. Like, shut up. The guy played the rest of the game. He played the rest of the game, Ryan.
Clarkey, listen. You're going down. You're walking down a road I can't go down with you, because what we know about concussions. Sidney Crosby played the rest of the Winter Classic and then played a week later and then missed a year and a half of hockey.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It's not how
I bet you
work.
when the suspension's over, he's on the ice. That's my prediction. We'll see.
We will see. I'm not going to say a guy's hurt or not hurt. I don't want to walk down that laneway.
We'll see.
But I understand your passionate frustration as a Leaf fan. I really do. Again, what I'll say in closing is, if you're going to tell me that's worth 6 games, fine. But then make it make sense with these other guys. When Marchand, Subban has slew-footed like 6 guys this year.
He could have slew-footed him and got 2 games.
It's a joke. And these guys that are supposed to be repeat offenders and have suspension history, Brad Marchand never gets it.
Yeah. And just to finish off the Trouba thing and the New York thing, like, I follow the NHL on Facebook, and the last 2 days, 2 days ago, they were saying Rangers on the power rankings up 9 points. They can move into first place. Like, I don't see that for any other team. Like, I'm pretty sure the person running the NHL social media is a huge Ranger fan, and it just sickening.
I don't know. I don't know, because I see plenty of stuff about my Caps on there. I see plenty of stuff about the Leafs. And to be fair, in this current time period we're in, the Rangers are red hot. I believe they've won 12 of 13. Like, they are rocking and rolling at MSG right now. Our friend Dwayne Duck's probably really, really happy. I wanted to sneak this in. Go ahead. You got something to add?
No, I was just going to say, we are going to talk to our buddy Ian Doig.
Yes, we are.
On the show.
Ian Doig Golf Academy.
And so Ian's been down in Florida. Here's the situation, and this is a little shop talk at the same time.
Okay.
He's on his way home. We're in a little bit of a snowstorm here in Midwestern Ontario tonight. He is pulled into a gas station and would like to come on. So can we maybe just take a break and bring Ian on?
Yes.
Does that work for you guys?
Yes, I think we can do that, and then we'll continue with some more NHL news.
Yeah.
Right after we talk with our buddy Doigie, coming up here on Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, brought to you by CoolBet. Welcome back to Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, brought to you by CoolBet, the Listowel Squash Courts, and our friends that see the game in the Listowel Vision Center. Drury here, still with Clarkey, and we're very pleased to be joined by a special guest, our buddy Ian Doig, a professional golfer, and of course of the Ian Doig Golf Academy. Doigie, how are you, man?
I'm good, guys. How's everybody up here?
We're good. Where are you, Doigie?
Well.
You in your car?
Trapped somewhere, man.
In your truck?
I've been in my truck for about 24 hours now. So yeah,
wow.
Just coming home from Florida. Sorry about that.
Now you were
coming home from Florida.
You were down in Florida trying to qualify for a tour event. Tell us a little bit about that experience and what it was like, and just how things generally are down in Florida right now.
Well, generally speaking, there's no such thing as COVID down there, really. So that's kind of kind of funny. Life is very normal. Weather is very good. It's been fun. I was actually down trying to qualify for the PGA Tour Champions, which is the full tour for next year. Unfortunately, I did well enough at the first stage to be an alternate into the finals. And I stood on the first tee on Tuesday morning for 4.5 hours and did not get the start. So they're finishing up there tomorrow, and I don't get to play next year.
Now,
Why?
I've seen your post, Doigie. I've seen your posts. Tell us what happened and how frustrating it was on Tuesday.
Well, it's frustrating from the perspective or the fact that, I played well at the first stage. I finished 19th, was in a playoff to get an alternate spot, and I won the playoff in the first hole. So that was exciting, because if I don't win the playoff, I have no chance. So then I spent the next couple of weeks prepping, practicing 6 hours, 7 hours every day to get ready to go play. And then I showed up at the venue, played a couple of practice rounds, playing very well, and then stood on the first tee on Tuesday. The frustrating part comes from the fact that they sent 2 twosomes out and didn't call any alternates to play. And I just don't understand it. I don't understand what the PGA Tour is thinking about when they do that, when they start a field 2 players short of a full field, when there's alternates that they've asked to be there, they're not allowed to play.
Yeah. So just to set it, like the whole tournament's threesomes, but there was 2 twosomes. And was it first and 10th tees? The
first
2 twosomes?
Tees,
they were the first ones.
Were the first ones to go off.
Yeah.
And, we were there in plenty of time. I had warmed up for the first tee time, ready to go. Then we had about a 2-hour fog delay. And I was standing there as they sent the twosome off the first tee. I was 40 yards away.
And I'm sure you asked for an explanation. What did they give you?
Well, the PGA Tour has the right to do whatever they want. That's the bottom line. And we know that when we sign up. Mm-hmm. But basically, they had announced the field to be 78, and the tour made a mistake and missed a player. So they had to include that player, which took the field to 79. And that's where they came up with the 2 twosomes, because the number 79 is not divisible by 3s. So they ended up with the 2 twosomes. And our question is, well, then why not just allow 2 of the alternates to play and give them an opportunity? It's about opportunity. And we didn't get it. That's the frustrating part, is we didn't get our opportunity. So I do know that the players that have been members of the PGA Tour and the Champions Tour for years and years and years vote on the policies that make these decisions, and they typically vote to protect themselves.
Right.
And I have thoughts on that. It's frustrating. I think some of them, after they've made their 20 million, forget what it was like to be a struggling pro and somebody that has a dream and wants to chase their dream. And they take that opportunity away from them, and they protect themselves, and they make policies that don't allow the outsiders on in. It's a closed boys shop.
That's always struck me to be the case, Doigie. And I mean, first of all, I'm sorry that happened to you. I mean, that's a garbage situation. And I wonder why that, seems to continue to be the case, because, the PGA, even at the highest level, I mean, I remember talking to you last year when that whole news broke where they were going to have that exclusive club of 10 guys where if you got more social media likes than everybody else, you were going to be eligible to, get into this giant cash pool. And it's like, why did the 10 highest earning players need that? Like, they do stuff sometimes that just makes no sense. I mean, they continue to protect guys like Patrick Reed that blatantly cheats every single round of golf that he plays. I mean, it's just bizarre to me, Doigie. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I agree with you completely. And my understanding is that pool has been doubled for this year. So instead of them getting a pool 40 million split between 10 guys, it's now 80 million split between 10 guys. I know one thing for sure. There's a new tour that's starting up. It's coming out of the Far East. Greg Norman is behind it with some sheiks in Saudi Arabia. And if I was a young guy starting out right now, I'd have Greg Norman's phone number on speed dial. I'd be phoning him up and saying, give me a spot, I'll come and play in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. That's interesting news. Yeah, the great white shark getting involved. I love it. Doigie, I want to talk to you just a bit about, what's next. I mean, with this disappointing news, obviously, which, we obviously don't agree with because we're big supporters of yours. What does next year look like for you then? Like, are you going to be able to go and play in some events? And what does it look like?
Well, I mean, I can always go try and qualify. But the problem with trying to qualify for the Champions Tour, if I had got in this week into the tournament, I think I was playing well enough. Look, I looked at the scores today. The scores are good. Could I have finished in the top 5 and been an all-exempt player next year? Yes, I could do that. But I would have had to play very well. But I could have finished in the top 30, which would give me what they call conditional status next year, which would allow me to go to every Monday qualifier and try and qualify for the tournaments. Now I have no status. So what that means is if I want to go to a Monday qualifier, I have to go to a pre-qualifier the Thursday before that, and it becomes cost prohibitive. And I think that that's done on purpose by the tour to keep guys from chasing their dream, because it literally turns out to be $2,000 to $3,000 a week to try and qualify.
And Doug, you've been playing well, right? You're hitting the ball great.
Well, I'll tell you what. On Monday I played a practice round with Damon Green. I don't know if you remember who Damon Green is. Damon caddied for Zach Johnson for 15 years on the PGA Tour. Won both majors with him. Damon and I have played a lot of golf together over the years, and I'm the guy he's caddying for this week. And Damon looked at me after about 10 holes and said, "Doigie, it's a shame you're not going to get to start this week, because not only could you win this week, you could win on tour next year." So that part's frustrating. I hit every fairway and 15 greens in regulation on Monday in the practice round.
Wow.
On a very difficult golf course, actually. So,
how was your season overall back here in Canada this past summer?
Very good. I mean, for somebody that's pushing 61 years old and that's coming off of, a couple of years ago, a very serious health scare where I was basically dead. I'm playing the best golf of my life right now. I've gone through the health issues. I have dealt with some mental anguish that I had gone through as a child, that I've talked a little bit about in social media. And, it's freed me up, and it's made me become a freer golfer, because my heart and my head and everything is free, and I'm emotionally free as well. And I'm playing the best golf of my life right now. I just wish I had a chance to go play. That's the hard part.
Well, so do we, Doigie. I mean, it's garbage news, and I hope that you're able to get into a couple events next year, hopefully anyway, if you're able to get down and qualify for some of them. I'd be remiss, of course, if we didn't ask you about our favorite golfer, Tiger Woods, not Patrick Reed. Man, it's just incredible how many times we've seen this guy come off the mat in the last few years. Of course, after all of his health struggles and personal struggles, he wins the Masters a few years ago, which we all thought then was unprecedented. Like people had written this guy off. Now he suffers like a horrific, almost life-altering car accident where the guy almost lost his leg. And now he's back taking shots. He's playing in a tournament with his son, and he's going to play next week. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, what is a realistic expectation to put on this guy at his current age and after the most serious health scare he's personally been through now?
Well, first of all, I'm very excited that he's coming back. I'm very excited that he's going to play. I would not watch the tournament normally, but because he's playing, I will. For a couple of reasons. I want to see how he's swinging the golf club. I also want to see how Charlie has improved since last year's tournament and this year. See how much he's growing, see how much further he's hitting it, and how well he's playing. But anything Tiger does not surprise me. I look back and I think about the history of Ben Hogan coming back from his horrific automobile accident and coming back to win majors afterwards. And people like Ben Hogan and Tiger Woods have a different mindset and a different work ethic and a different heart than the rest of us do. And nothing would surprise me. Nothing at all. Will he win another major? Maybe not. Will he compete every week? Certainly not. but I wouldn't be surprised to see him win again on the PGA Tour.
That would be incredible. That would be incredible stuff. Well, Doigy, we really appreciate you doing this in the middle of a hellacious snowstorm.
What a welcome back to Canada, isn't it? You've been down south soaking up the sun. Someone got
well,
you back.
You know what? Sure. I'm happy to get home to see everybody and spend some quality time with my wife Kathleen and hang out at Christmas and that. And then you know, next year we may look into I'll definitely try and qualify for the U.S. Senior Open again, and then we're talking about going back over to Scotland for the British Senior Open. I know one of the qualifying venues is where I lost in a playoff a couple of years ago. So we've got that on the calendar as of right now. So
now, the biggest question I have, is there room in the hot tub for the New Year's Eve party?
If you show up with a nice bottle of red wine, I think we can figure it out.
Okay, well, maybe I could do that. Maybe I could do that. And if you ever, I know you're driving up in your truck. If you ever need a real truck, you just let me know, okay?
I'm quite happy with my Ford, thank you.
We'll beep that out later.
Yeah, I figured.
Just come see me at Larry Hudson's.
Fair enough, Doig. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we appreciate you spending quality time with us in a snowstorm. Best of luck next year. Whatever you're involved with, we want to know about it, and we'll be pulling for you, buddy. Thanks for doing this.
Guys, you are welcome anytime. Happy to be on, and keep in touch. Have a great Christmas.
You too, buddy. All right, we'll take another quick break here on this game. When we come back, we'll talk about the changes with Vancouver and a number of other topics as well. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Instigating with Clarkey and Drury. I'm Drury. That is Clarkey, and we appreciate our buddy Ian Doig pulling over in a snowstorm to join us here. Obviously, some garbage news from the tour event that he was trying to qualify for, but hey, that's the PGA, isn't it? Let's move back to talk about hockey really quick. I teased this before we jumped on with Doigy, just in terms of your friend Mitch Marner and my buddy Tom Wilson. There's a lot of rumors that apparently the Team Canada brass is potentially favoring taking Tom Wilson to the Olympics instead of Mitch Marner, and people are really upset about it, and I'm here for it. I love that people are so angry because nobody wants to admit that Tom Wilson is an incredibly good hockey player, but I just want your thoughts on it.
Ryan, I'll just tell you.
Okay.
I watched Mitch Marner in the playoffs.
Yeah,
that's all I'm going to say.
Okay, so you're on this train then a little bit. Like
I'm not. You know what? He doesn't deserve to be there. If you show up in the playoffs this year, then
why not
play in the next Olympics? Because he's proved to me, and probably the Team Canada brass, that when things matter, he disappears, and they don't need that in the biggest tournament in the world.
Yeah, but
plain and simple. But I would also take John Tavares over Steve Stamkos. That's me. So. Anyway.
Yeah, I'd have that argument with you. Yeah. Tavares playing very well. Now, let me just say this. I would feel hypocritical if I didn't give Mitch Marner a bit of benefit of the doubt for the fact that for years people ragged on Ovechkin and Backstrom for not being able to get it done. Now, I will say, though, the difference is those guys were putting points up in the playoffs.
Right. And you know what? At the end of the day, Ryan, at the end of the day, I would bet Mitch Marner's on the team. That's my opinion. He will be on the team, but so he better show up.
Here's Doug Armstrong. Show up. Here's Armstrong, who is going to be running Team Canada this year. I'll read you the statement from the story. Armstrong dropped a hint in a radio interview that would support swapping out Marner for Wilson. He said Team Canada will lean heavily on players who have performed well in pressure situations. Wilson is battle-tested. He was an integral part of the Caps' run to the Cup with 15 points in 21 playoff games. Leafs Nation has watched Marner grip his stick tightly in multiple first-round exits.
Yeah, I think I just said that.
Here's the quote from him. How do you perform in the Cup playoffs? And if your team doesn't get there, how do you perform in the World Championship? Armstrong said. You want to see how guys perform when the light is brightest. If you haven't played important games in 4 or 5 years, it's a leap of faith that you're going to have the ability to get it done in those games.
I still think he will make the team, but let's see as we move forward.
I do too.
If there even is a team.
That's a conversation to have. Now, I'll just say this, and I'm coming from the other side of the bias train here. I love Tommy Wilson. I get angry when he does dumb stuff and gets suspended because, and people don't want to admit this because he does that dumb stuff and that's all they see, he is an incredibly effective hockey player.
He's
having a great year this year.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that. But again, he has proved that he can get a little hot under the collar, and they don't want that
double IHF.
They don't want a Nazem Kadri situation where the guy just disappears because of suspensions.
And that's the thing.
Right. So it's 6-1, half dozen of the other. We'll see what happens, but I think Mitch Marner will make the team.
I do too. And honestly, I would take him because if you're going based on skill, he is clearly a more skilled player than Tom Wilson.
I mean, we heard
he as effective as an effective a player? That's an argument to be had because they're effective in very different ways.
Yeah, for sure.
That people value differently. So I don't know.
We had
they're both first line wingers.
We had someone on the Canadian network of choice for the NHL mention that they think that Zach Hyman should be on the Team Canada's the top line instead of Mitch Marner. Well, Michael Bunting has more points than Zach Hyman, so maybe it should be Michael Bunting.
Here's the thing. I believe Hyman deserves to be in the conversation of guys that get talked about. I wouldn't put him on the team. And again, Canada, this is an argument we could have till we're blue or, hey, red and white in the face.
Yeah, we'll do this another week. Let's save this another week.
Yep, we have an embarrassment of riches.
We got other stuff here.
We could ice a second team. Let's talk about the Vancouver Canucks. Yep.
Yeah, they iced 2 bobsled teams. Why don't we ice 2 hockey teams?
Could probably ice 3 teams. Let's talk quickly about the Vancouver Canucks. The axe finally fell. Travis Green and the majority of his coaching staff are gone. And your buddy Brucey Boudreau.
Yeah,
Bruce,
there he is.
Bruce, there it is. He is back in the NHL. I will say selfishly, cousin Brad was the only coach to survive the firing. And, well, he was the newest member of the staff. And it's not his fault, right? So Brad is going to be joined on the bench by Bruce Boudreau and, of course, former Guelph Storm coach, owner, and former currently, anyway, director of hockey ops, Scott Walker, who I'm obviously familiar with doing Guelph Storm games. He is joining the bench. Of course, Scott Walker was drafted by the Vancouver Canucks. And funnily enough, the last coach Scott played for in the NHL was Bruce Boudreau in Washington. So it's an interesting shakeup and news today that they've hired Jim Rutherford as the president of hockey ops, not the GM. So they're still looking for that. Your
interim GM. He'll be president and interim GM until they find a GM. Yeah, it's too bad. I like Travis Green as a person. I got to know him very well when I worked for Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. He might have to work his way back through the system, but we'll see what happens with Travis. But something had to give. I mean, Jimmy Benning, another former Leaf. They love the former Leafs out there, which is very surprising to me. Jimmy Rutherford's a former Leaf too. But at the end of the day, they had to do something. They were in trouble. Letting Markstrom go was probably the beginning of the downfall.
Oh yeah.
Markstrom is just like lighting it up. So many shutouts this year for the Calgary Flames. It's crazy. I heard them talking. I don't know who it was, and I think it was TSN guys just tossing. I think it was Dreger saying that they've talked about bringing Mike Gillis back. And I thought, is that the most insane comment and person to bring back? This guy was a colossal disaster when he was there. He totally screwed up the Roberto Luongo, Corey Schneider combo. He was just awful, like absolutely awful.
Bad
and for him to even be in the conversation, to me, is a joke. Well, I don't think Jimmy Rutherford's going to hire Mike Gillis, but we'll see what happens out there.
I would hope not. That would be a disaster. And I've also heard rumors that they'd consider Mark Bergevin. And I'm like, Mark Bergevin? What the hell has that guy done? Yeah, they had a miracle run to the Cup playoffs. Yeah. They did make the
East final one year too.
Right. Yes, okay. But like if you're looking for a guy to lead a young team and develop play, like look at Montreal's draft record. Not very good. Very good. Not to mention the fact that they in the first round. Sex criminal.
Exactly.
So, I mean, what the hell do you want a guy like that involved with your organization for? I think that we're past having Mark Bergevin run teams. He'll get a job.
I would hope so. Oh,
he'll get a job. It's like Doig said with the PGA. It's an old boys club in the NHL. Yeah. It still is. They try and tell us it's not.
What about our friend Mike Babcock? Is he ever going to show up anywhere?
God, I hope not.
I know, but like you talk about an old boys club, like, who knows? Who knows?
I don't know.
But Jimmy Rutherford's a good GM. I like him.
Jim Rutherford has 2 Stanley Cups.
Yep.
Now the core of that team was built before he got there. And
Brucey Boudreau, he was the guy I wanted to come to the Leafs after the first 10 games of the season. But luckily I'm not managing the Maple Leafs. Because everyone would have been traded and Bruce Boudreau would have been my coach. But good for Bruce. Ironic. I love Bruce Boudreau.
I love Bruce. He's a great guy. Much. I don't.
2 Leafs out, 2 Leafs in, right?
And
Travis
I don't.
Gone. Jim Benning gone. Bruce Boudreau in, Jimmy Rutherford, former Leaf in. So there you go.
Funnily enough, Bruce Boudreau's first pro goal was scored on Jim Rutherford.
That's good.
Yeah, funny little fact there for you. Bruce Boudreau also a cameo appearance in the movie Slapshot. I will say that, I love Bruce. Like when the Caps won the cup, he was one of the first people I thought of. That he set the foundation for that team. I love Bruce. I would love to see him win a cup. It is funny though
that he's not going to win one there.
Well, you never know. I mean, he is like the biggest Leaf fan ever, though.
He is
running the Canucks.
I know.
So I wonder how people feel about it. But hey, listen, at the end of the day, he's a very quality coach, and he's the most players coach of players coaches. Like the players love playing for this guy, and I think that he's going to drag a lot out of Elias Pettersson and Brock Besser and the like.
And I think that's why the Leafs didn't bring him in as an assistant. They thought he was going to get a head coaching job somewhere, and he did.
Absolutely. And he deserves it. I love Bruce. Really quick to close out, I just want to say I'm getting really fed up with the broadcasting setup that the league is involved with. This ESPN Plus garbage. I'm so sick and tired of this. This league is like, we want to grow our audience. We want to go to Houston. We want to keep
explain to us what this is, Ryan.
So ESPN Plus is an extra bonus channel. Yeah, it's an online streaming channel for ESPN that you have to buy on top of paying for your streaming package for the NHL that they have, of course, with TNT as well.
Okay, so hold on. I have a question about this. When you bought the NHL package, in the past, that's included every game. Does it not anymore?
Not in the States, because the NHL online package. So this is TV. So the NHL online package, you can still buy that NHL TV. And I do. Yeah. So it doesn't affect me except for dumb blackouts. Like if the Caps are playing the Leafs, I can't watch it, which has to stop. This is a thing where if you buy ESPN on cable in the States and buy the NHL package on there, they're taking some games like this Friday's game between Washington and Pittsburgh, pretty big game, and you can only see it on ESPN Plus, which you have to pay extra for, and I'm fed up with it.
But you don't have to pay extra for it. You just
you do.
You do?
No, I don't.
That's what I'm saying. You don't. You're just looking out for your brothers south of the border.
It doesn't matter if I can watch it. I'm in Canada. I get plenty of hockey.
Right.
They're like, we want to grow the game. But pay.
No, they don't want to grow the game. They want to grow the ESPN network. That's what they want to grow.
It's stupid. Yeah, a network that didn't care about the NHL existing for years, like 25 years. Yeah, thank you. And I think they're doing a good job. I've enjoyed the broadcast. I like John Bucegros. I love all those guys. The broadcast quality is fine.
Except some of the announcers are awful.
Yeah, some of the announcers
absolutely awful. That's all I'm going to say. Awful.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, teams, I'm on LinkedIn, like my number's on there. Now, I will say this. The broadcasts have been better than NBC, in my opinion. I think that they've got good people doing it, but the business practices are so garbage. Prices go up every year for everything. It's impossible to go to a game. It costs $5 bajillion to get a jersey or a hat, and now you got to pay extra if you want to watch Caps Penguins on Friday. What a friggin' joke. I'm so fed up with it. All right, I'm going to sweat out of my body getting so angry on this episode if we don't stop. Yeah, I'm red in the face now. I'm slightly matching the hue of our Canada flag. Unbelievable. Hey, we really appreciate everybody watching the show.
We do.
Listening on all the best podcast apps. We're on YouTube as well, where you can watch full-length episodes of the show. We're extremely excited to be back on cable with our friends on Whiteman. We will be airing Friday nights at 8, Sunday nights at 9 with Whiteman. So you can watch us there, and you can also catch the full episodes on YouTube. And hey, We really, really appreciate you following us on social media at Instigating Pod. I am Ryan Drury. That is Clarkey. You've been watching Instigating with Clarkey and Drury here on Whiteman TV, all the best podcast apps, and YouTube. Brought to you by CoolBet, the Listowel Squash Courts, and our friends at See the Game and the Listowel Vision Center. We'll see you next week.